All right. I'm back. Let's see. The waiting room. Okay. All right. Okay, now we're cooking. Sorry if you guys are just tuning in. Our first try for today wasn't so hot. I had to restart my computer.
Hey.
Hi. Okay, good morning. How's everybody?
Morning.
Good morning. Let's open up the chat. All right, so, okay, I think we're good now. If everyone can, well, first of all, good morning. I think I said that like a few times, but you know.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi.
All right, so you have Brian, Antoine, Price Bachman. Good morning again. So today it looks like we are going to have quite a few fun, interesting topics to talk about today. Lots has happened this week, as usual. So what we're going to do is kind of go around and we'll each kind of like share about, you know, something or what we've experienced this week, what we've read about, and just and kind of go around and chat. If everyone can add their or open up their settings so that we can all see each other's faces. If you can, if you're not in a good place for that, that's understandable. But for the most part, I'm trying to get us all to get to know each other, and part of that is being able to see each other's faces if we could meet in person. So if you can do that, that would be great. Thank you so much. And as another thing, I'm going to try to keep this to around an hour today. So we're going to have just like as we open up the discussion, we'll just have maybe like a 2 or 3 minute time limit as we all discuss. That way we can all have some input. All right. So a couple other things. In case you missed it, we are now on YouTube. ADOS is now on YouTube because it's an easier way for people who miss joining in to our chats. They can be able to catch the replays there. So if you haven't already, please check us out on YouTube, ADOS Kansas City. Please subscribe and catch up on those videos if you haven't. And that is it as far as announcements are concerned. So just to set the tone for today's discussion, I'd just like to open up and start with saying that this week I've seen and read about quite a few events that really showcases why it's so important for ADOS to have to define themselves the way that we have, to be specific in our lineage, in our identity, the way that we are. I think that when we treat blackness as something that, anybody can grift their way into it, opportunists will, and I've read about that in quite a few articles this week. So as we open up discussion, I just want us to all focus on why ADOS is even necessary, why it's important for Black Americans to have their specific identity, and what happens when we don't. What happens when we're not protecting it, when we're not guarding what makes us unique. But so just keep that in mind, and if anyone wants to start, we'll just kind of go around and just chat about how what we've encountered this week, what we've learned this week, and go there. So if anyone wants to go first, just speak up. Also, you don't need to keep yourself muted if you want to. And also, again, please make sure that your settings are open so that we can see your faces. So that'll make it easier, talking face to face. And that's it. Okay.
Economic Twitter, Mookie. I'm not actually from KC, but one of the times
James, you're breaking up a little bit.
using my cell phone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you better now.
Okay. All right. So I'm actually from Connecticut, so it's kind of dope to be able to talk to an ADOS group that's from another state and finding similarities with problems you guys are facing out there that we're also facing up here. One of the problems I'm finding right now is that there's no ADOS pastor out here, or if they are out here, they're pretty quiet and they're inaccessible, So it makes it difficult because I wouldn't say I'm new to this understanding, but this is the first time I interacted with a movement or a group of people who was actually focused on the specifics of our lineage and not just the blackness that everybody preaches to Pan-African. So it's been hard to find people who's actually making direct focus on us and on our specific lineage. So to come to what you were saying before about other people that stealing the ADOS name and clothing so that they can go ahead and parade us when they don't face the disparities that we go through, they don't face the murder rates that we go through, they don't all of these different ways we've been locked out of wealth, out of employment, shirted up into police, into prison. They don't face that. Their families don't face that. They don't go through these complications of life that we go through. But yet they just bear our names and wear our lineage as though it's something you can hang up in the closet as well, And I find it completely disrespectful, especially to find out that they profiting off of it. It's not like some game where they just, hey, let's be black today. Let's be ADOS today. No, they taking it and they using that as a mechanism for creating personal wealth. Whereas we, just being ourselves, are locked out of that same wealth. We're locked out of that opportunity. Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, to your first point, I will say, that's one of the ways that Connecticut and Missouri are similar is that I think the movement behind ADOS and the people that identify with the lineage themselves are few and far between. So it's kind of peculiar to me because I just happened across Yvette Carnell's Breaking Brown's videos about a year, seems like 2 years ago at this point, almost randomly, like it was in my YouTube recommendations. And I mean, it took me a while to start watching her, and that's mainly because, like, her videos are so, like, just, you know, keeping it real, her videos are so long. I was like, oh my gosh, like, these videos are, like, you know, an hour and a half, 2 hours. Like, who has time for that? but eventually I did start watching them, and it just made sense. Like, what the message behind ADOS, it just clicked with me. And it just so happens that I'm in Kansas City. But then I got to wondering that the more I read about it, the more I learned, I wondered and still wonder why there aren't more people in Kansas City that resonate with this message in a similar passionate way. You know, why aren't there more people in Kansas City, you know, shouting up and down ADOS? Why is it just us? You know, this, why is it that, so, you know, and who really knows why there's not more of us, but we're growing, for sure, growing. But I think we definitely need more. You know, there's more that education that needs to happen, and there's more that needs to be learned as far as getting more people on board. You know, each of us here is hopefully doing our due diligence and sharing this information with our family and friends, and, you know, sharing these videos and the books that we're reading, including the one for the book club that we have now, From Here to Real Quality. So it's just a matter of just it clicking, I guess, just people being able to say, this makes sense, and I agree with this, and getting on board with it that way. Now, for your second point with, you know, I was wondering, James, he must have left the chat. But well, he was talking about what happens when people grift into the Black American identity. In a specific case I can think of, this is like everyone's talking about, is Jessica Krug. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce her last name, but I'm assuming it's Jessica Krug. So let's go there. Let's all talk about what you all thought of that whole chain of events that went down. Yeah, that's her. She was I guess she was outed, or she was about to be exposed, so she got ahead of it, and she wrote an article saying that she basically spent her whole career pretending. Well, she's a white Jewish woman who spent her whole career pretending to be Black American.
To read all the article. I mean, I got a little bit of the article, but I don't know. To me, it's just not surprising because I mean, those are extreme cases of what we see. Like when you think about the Jordan, Kamala Harris, Obama, like it's the same thing. They don't share our history. They understand standing in our shoes. They can get certain benefits. think it's up to us, ADOS and the black community in general. We have to draw the line, and I think that's what Tara. I don't know if you noticed on the Slack forum. Like, it's just a lot of pushback, and I think the best thing we can do is go about, like you say, keep spreading the information. Because like what we saw in that, that was basically Rachel Dole's out all over. So it's like we just gotta, the more I've noticed, the more we increase our numbers, the difference in the conversation. Because now I was late. Sorry, you guys, I had a long night, but I just want to let everybody know, like, okay, I'm a part of a Slack forum. I'm still care about it. Basically, I feel these Russian bot, Trump supporter, what else trying to do, voter suppression, like, it's constant. I've been a part of ADOS for probably like 4 or 5 years. Like, I was watching event back when she was watching. You know what I'm saying? So I've been on it for a long time. I'll take this time out to say, I'm really excited to see these faces. Because I've been standing on the mountaintop screaming this shit for like years. And it's like, nobody's here but me. But it's like, I know this is right. I know this is what we're supposed to do. Like, when I think about Martin and Malcolm, I think about like 60% of black people didn't even like Martin and Malcolm when they were alive. And so it's like, no, this is right. And I brought the area into the Slack forum, and I'm looking for other guys to join as well, just so you can kind of see the vibe of what's going. Like I say, they Trump support me to death. No matter how many down ballot articles I show them, no matter how much I tell them, we've never believed in not voting. It doesn't matter, and it's at this point, it's entertainment. Matter of fact, I posted something that you tweeted the other day about Trump being racist and the whole, what do you have to lose from me tweet. I posted that, and literally the next comment they said, why are you defending Trump? And it was like the first 4 words of the tweet are, Trump is a racist.
Yeah.
What are you reading?
Hey, Ethan. Can you pause? Can you hold that thought? Because I actually do want to get back to that. But
I'm sorry.
But if anyone else has anything that they wanted to say about the Jessica Krug situation, we'll get back to that, and then we'll go back to what you were talking about, Layton.
Okay, no problem.
I'd like to say something about it, if you don't mind.
Sure, go for it, Brian.
I don't know much about the story. I kind of did some basic internet digging yesterday. But the thing that stands out to me, I thought James' point was terrific about co-opting and, appropriating. I'll skip that road. I just say James' point was great. One of the things that sticks out to me about that situation is just, how can, I think about how she must be such an insecure human being, and to feel that she couldn't, be herself in the world in her own story, in her own skin, and I can't imagine what would drive somebody to try to appropriate another culture, whether it's Native Americans or African Americans or what. Just the, I don't know, the degree of I don't want to say self-loathing, but just lack of self-love, personal insecurity that would drive someone to perpetuate that kind of a falsehood about the very core of who they are as a human being. To me, just seems really, it's sad. It's disheartening. I feel badly for her. Certainly, the things that she did over time were terrible. I also just feel really badly for her and the decision and the psyche that the wounds in her psyche that caused her to feel like she has to do that or wants to do that, or I don't know, I don't know. That's it. Sorry, stream of consciousness there, but that's my thought on it.
Well, yeah, just to piggyback a little. If you want to talk, Christ Black man, you could definitely talk. I talked earlier. My phone had just cut off. That was the problem. I'll definitely let you jump in if you want to say something.
Yeah, peace. Appreciate y'all. And first of all, having this and being a part of this and everything. But yeah, I don't know much about Jessica Krug, but I guess she would be right along the lines of and I'm sorry I don't know the name, but I just read an article a couple of days ago, or glanced over an article about, I guess it was a woman, white woman who was claiming to be Native American, who was basically doing that same thing and trying to speak out. And even though she had been kind of outed in the 90s and outed in the early 2000s, she still was trying to kind of make a career on being a Native American. And, so yeah, I mean, I see, things like that, the Rachel Dolezals, I guess, of the world, who are, trying to appropriate or trying to find their own, I don't know, trying to find their own space within a space that's not even their own. I don't know. It's kind of weird to me that, when people do things like that. But, I wasn't completely in tune to the entire conversation, so I just go ahead and back out for right now. But I did have some things to kind of say about ADOS versus FBA, because I run a podcast, and just last night when we were doing the podcast, we actually had a guest on who was like a huge FBA, Tariq Nasheed follower, and I was just like, okay, well, but why? Like we kind of had a little back and forth about that. But yeah, I'd kind of more so like to talk about something like that, but I'm not gonna sit here and hijack the conversation. But that's all I had to say for right now.
So just to piggyback what you're saying and what I was getting into a little bit earlier, it's like these people are not just saying, hey, I'm going to be Native American today, I'm going to be this today. This is a thought out plan to try to see how they can create a lifestyle or a career or something that's going to produce money and income, that's going to help them support a family while wearing the appearance or the similarity of us to the point where they can say, hey, I'm them also. Like, I just put up another article. I don't know if people are in other social medias and stuff, but maybe you heard of Daquan. It's like a little thing where they be kind of clowning people and stuff like that, but it's always about like hip hop stuff and stuff like that. It just came out, posted on Twitter. The guy who produced it was basically perpetrating that he was black this whole time and he wasn't. So now he's come out. It's like, for people to even come out, it's like they're not even serious about facing any repercussions because they came out. If somebody robbed a bank, they're not about to tell the police in the world, hey, I just robbed 3 banks. They're going to keep it quiet. They're going to keep doing what they're doing so they could keep living. If they feel the need that now they can come out, they feel like they could jump back and forth, like I said, and wear it's like clothes, And that's disrespectful as hell, man. Excuse my language, but it's kind of infuriating because when I go out in society, I already got strikes against me and they are wearing my lineage so that they can get bonuses and benefits. Like, how is that not infuriating? If I were to be if I was to perpetrate to be any other nationality, and then it came out, not that I told on myself, but it came out that I was not who I said I was in any way, shape, or form, that receives automatic backlash. You understand? If I tell the Black community I'm a real estate investor, invested with me like Jay Morrison is doing, and I decide to get everybody for their money, this backlash because I am perpetrating to be something I am not, and I am benefiting off of it. This is crazy. This is really just, this is crazy. This is ridiculous that in 2020, we still going through things like that. That in this day and age, people are disregarding all of the systematic racism that we face in life every single day. And then they use us just so they can make some money. This is crazy. This is crazy, man. I'll let somebody pick up. I ain't gonna hold your ear.
No, I'll jump in real quick. I think that's the point of it. We being Black American, we can't jump out of our skin to say we're any other race, any other ethnicity ethnicity, other than what we are. But it's the fact that a white person or a person or an Indian person or any other person who might do so can, because of our history, of the fact that being ADOS means that part of your lineage includes European heritage based off of having ancestors who were enslaved and raped by their slave masters. So for someone to say, "Oh, I can just, I know how the one job rule works. I can just pretend like, I get a little bit tan in the summer. My hair is curly, so." They're not going to be too quick to question if I say I'm Black. So let me use that to my benefit. Let me grift my way into spaces that should be specifically for Black Americans. Let me apply for those jobs, saying I'm Black, filling whatever diversity spot that the company is trying to provide. Let me get that as a Black-faced white person. Let me use that to get into apply for colleges, to qualify for scholarships. And it's theft. It really should be considered a crime to falsify your identity. I don't see how it's not. So I actually read the whole article, and she said like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I cancel myself." I'm like, you should be arrested and prosecuted, as far as I'm concerned, because I just can't see how that's not considered illegal to lie as to the extent of what she did. I'm not even sure how she managed to get as far as she did without intentionally falsifying documents and applications and whatever else she did to get as far. But I just can't imagine how that could not be considered a crime.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yes. Oh, yes, please. Yeah.
It definitely is in certain circumstances. I mean, impersonating an officer in the military will get you thrown in the clink right away. And of course, in online spaces, identity theft is a crime. So I think it will be ultimately. I mean, so many high profile cases, in the digital era, like this isn't the first time that, obviously it isn't the first time, it won't be the last time that something like this happens. So I wouldn't be surprised if it does become maybe not criminal, but certainly there'll be major civil penalties. And I actually wouldn't be surprised if it would become criminal at some point.
Well, can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like, you know, it won't though, because America reveres officers. America reveres the police. America reveres people in uniform. They don't revere black people. So if you're imitating a black person, you get a book deal. You get a movie about you. You get, you know, I mean, Mindy Kaling, the comedian from The Office, and, you know, other comedy shows. Her brother faked being black so he could get a scholarship. You know, I mean, and what's his penalty? He's getting a book deal about it. Like, so, I mean, what are we talking about? I mean, there was a movie that came out in 1986 called Soul Man. I don't know, I'm showing my age a little bit, but I'm just saying. So it was a movie that came out in 86, and it was like, there was this white dude who basically put on blackface so he could, and a Jew fro, so he could be be perceived as a black person and get a scholarship and all this stuff and go to college. And, you know, I guess the lesson that was learned in the whole thing was that, I learned a powerful lesson. I can't, even though I can take mine off, you can't take yours off. Well, yeah, shit. I mean, so yeah, so you get to be black when it's convenient. You know, it's always funny to me when I see or hear about people doing things like that, and they're like, okay, yeah, this is the time when it's okay to be black, or this is the time when it's okay for me to show my blackness. Whereas people who are of color, who are really of color, I mean, my last name is actually Black Man. You know, I can't escape anything. You know, I can't escape it if I wanted to. You know what I mean? And it's like, so I don't have that privilege. I don't have that opportunity to say, well, I'm going to be this today. I'm going to not be this today. I don't have that. I don't have that opportunity. So when I hear about people who are doing that or doing something similar, it's just like, dude, we've seen this. You know, we've seen this in the movies, and it's unfortunate that we've seen that. I honestly feel like, you know, the Rachel Dolezals and the Jessica Krugs and, you know, the others, maybe they saw that movie too and was like, while that was a cautionary tale for some of them then, maybe for some, you know, for people back then, maybe they saw it as like a business opportunity. I don't know.
I have a quick question. So we spent, I think maybe about 20 minutes or so talking about Jessica Krug and, you know, her and the Rachel Dolezals, and actually Mindy Kaling's brother, I think his name is VJ Kohal Ingham, something like that. But these are all examples of people who lied their way into benefiting from blackness. So with that in mind, what should be done to prevent this from happening? Like, how should blackness be identified? Like, a lot of us say, you know, there's no such thing as flat blackness, you know, white and black are social constructs. Well, what does that mean? When we see situations like this happen, how should someone identify? Like, how should it be just, you know, you look at, I mean, obviously, not by looking at their skin, that shouldn't be the main factor for saying, okay, you're black, I see the color of your skin. Because then we have light-skinned black people. We have white black people who look white, and then we have black people, you know, who come in all shades. So how should identity be determined that in such a way that could prevent this from happening, to keep people from just being able to say, oh, I'm black? How could we stop that? Any thoughts? Sure, we'll probably go around, but yeah, just really, so like maybe a few minutes for all of us to put our input in.
For me, I think something we have to keep in mind, because it's something that I've kind of noticed, you know, throughout the years of the movement. I don't necessarily think we have to recreate the wheel in this situation. And as you guys have found out, the more and more we meet up and the more and more we talk, I'm always generally known as the guy with all the radical ideas. But like the way I've always perceived it is, in order to fix something that was radically done into you, you have to have a radical solution. Like we can't do like a tit for tat kind of thing, because we didn't get to this position in a tit for tat kind of way. So when it comes to who we identify as, I think we just go around what's been going. So we understand that when we see Africans, whether they're Kenyans, Ghanaians, Nigerians, whatever country they're from, once they come over here, they always distinguish like, hey, I'm Ghanaian, I'm black, but I'm from Ghana. I'm black, but I'm from Kenya. And I don't think it's our responsibility to necessarily police blackness, because I consider them as black people as well. They are just as black as I am, including Haitians, Colombians, all of the different countries. I think where we draw a hard line is, like, you're not ADOS. Like, you didn't build America. You didn't go through everything we went through here. Your bones aren't buried here. Your blood, sweat, and tears are here. Born here because of what my ancestors did. We fought for the right for you to be here. So understand it. And I'm not trying to say that you're not black, but you ain't us. So all these minority scholarships and all the benefits that are supposed to come to me, that's not a part of who you are. And I think we need to be extremely loud, we need to be extremely vocal, and we need to be really assertive in drawing that line. Because, and this is just my understanding, I very much understand that they know the difference. Because if you talk to anybody from the islands, they have no problem telling you what country they're from. I'm Trinity, I'm from Haiti, I'm from Panama. Like, everybody is very clear about who they are and who their heritage is, except for us. We just say, oh, he's black like me. He gets racially discriminated against, so they, say the bullshit like, oh, well, the cops don't know the difference. That's not what the incarceration rates say. Nigerians and Kenyans and Ghanaians are not locked up in disproportionate numbers. Police do know the difference. And all of the states prove that they know the difference. And, just like with everybody I talk to, I always, and y'all hear me repeat the information over and over and over and over and over. Everything that's talked about on Breaking Brown and on Tone Talks, I've basically committed to memory. And so if we can understand those things and we can have these conversations in real time, then we'll draw the line. But I think the issue becomes a lot of us in our community don't know the difference and don't really care, because we got to keep in mind it's been programmed in us for the last 400 years to be the people to take the sacrifice. Like, one of the arguments I'm having right now is, and everybody's talking about this. We got to get Trump out of the White House. We got to get Trump out of the White House. I don't disagree to that. But what I'm saying is, I'm not voting for anybody not doing something for my community. Because we full well understand America can be in a great place and we can be really messed up. We know that happens a lot in America. So we can't vote for what's best for America, because America doesn't do what's best for us. So I think we need to understand our lineage, understand our culture, understand the differences, and understand what we have given. And when I say we, I mean specifically American descendants of slaves. What we have given to America. There is no America without us. There would be no place for immigrants to come to if it wasn't for us. There would be no place for the dominant society or white people to be in if it wasn't for us. And I'm extremely hard on that. Like, really, really hard on, no, this doesn't exist without me. All this shit belong to me. If we gonna really keep it honest, we fought, bled, and the price that we paid for this country is unlike anybody that ever came anyway. We were in this for 400 years, so I think we just need to understand that. We need to know the facts, know the history, know the road charts, know the data, know the laws, know the policies, and understand how that affects us. And draw that hard line, because I've had those conversations a lot with different Africans that I know personally. And the conversation always starts out good, but then when I start asking them, are you Osu or are you Oru, they go looking at me funny. And then when I ask them about a culture, they go looking at me funny. No, I know about your people. I know your people sold my people. And I know that why you're over here. And I'm going to draw the line if you don't. And I understand that those conversations become shorter and shorter. So I feel like they full well know the difference. I feel like everybody knows the difference between us and them except us. So I think we just got to, we got to make that hard line. And I will challenge everyone here not only to be vocal, not only to be assertive, but we also have to make sure that we keep each other in check. Because this is something that people get emotionally about, something extremely fast. So you have to stay on your square. You got to be able to know your facts, stay on task, and stay in. Because I think that's the only way it's going to change. Because like Christ was talking about a while ago, they know it's not going to be any penalties to posing as a black person. And I've learned a lot of things, the street things. I come from a real poor place. I come from a real gang infested murder. It's a glass ceiling for my hometown. I'm originally from Louisiana, for those that don't know. And so the way I understand it is basically basic street knowledge. If I slap you in the face and you don't do nothing about it, I'm gonna keep slapping you. Cause what you're not gonna do nothing. And I feel like we just gotta stand up. Like, yeah, we're not gonna do this no more. Cause if you do, we're gonna burn this shit down. Or we're gonna go to your town hall and we're gonna embarrass you. Because I try to understand it from a street perspective and as well from an intellectual perspective. Because we need both. We need people in the street to cause the ruckus, and we need people in these offices and on these calls and at these town hall meetings to explain what they're going through. So that's why I invest a lot of time in knowing both sides of the aspect. Because when it comes down to it, ain't nothing gonna change if we don't fight for it. And I tell everybody that, but I know we got us off the plantation, so there's nothing we can't do. I just think we need to be know the beat.
All right, does anyone else want to jump in? All right, James.
All right, so I think Leighton, excuse me if I said it wrong, but I think he's right. You know what I'm saying? But I also feel like it's a little bit deeper than us shouting things down and knocking it down when it comes, because we're talking about preventive measures as well, right? We don't want people to go a whole life through pretending to be us to at the end of their success and glories, they get found out about, or they tell the media and public about it, and they've already reaped the benefits of it. You know what I'm saying? So what I feel like America has been on a campaign to muddle what it means to be us, to confuse everybody into misunderstanding what it means to come from our specific lineage. Like when Yvette brought up that article, that person disputing with us on Twitter about, I don't remember where specifically in Africa they were from, but they were talking about how somebody was so-called contributing to the civil rights movement because he came over here with a drum or something like that of that nature. And in the article that they produced from BBC, it was saying how the person they wanted to stage boycotts, bus boycotts. And they tried it the first time, but they were wearing African attire. And the bus driver told them that the Negroes got to go to the back. But if you are wearing that African stuff and you are African, you ain't the same as those Negroes over there. So you are allowed to sit in the front of this bus. There's been a campaign of swirling this melting pot theory that they are forcing upon us to make it appear that anybody can be us. Anybody can assimilate to us. If you look up on the census, the United States Census, it says Black or African American, a person having origins in any of the Black racial groups of Africa. It includes people who indicate their race as Black or African American or provide written entries such as Kenyan, Nigerian, or Haitian. Do you understand what that is telling the public? It's telling the public that the United States believe that if you have this skin tone, you are Black in America. That does not address us. That actually muddles the numbers for us, because as they show, when people assimilate into a mesh group the way they try to do with Blacks in America, what they do is they leave out our poorness, our disenfranchisement, the ways we are left out of the equation, but they highlight the way that they are. And if their numbers start to even get close to the population size that we have, we are erased. We are done, because they're going to say Black people are good. They're going to say Black people are okay. And this is the point of preaching this lineage. If we want to have a protective measure, we need to make sure that it is clear who we are. separated from the rest of the blacks in America or the non-whites of America. Until we have that as a common sense conversation, that you got to be kind of remedial not to already know this, then until we reach that point, we're going to keep having this because people are not going to stop. Do you understand? There's no incentive to stop. Even us shouting out politicians, they can make their little laws, but we know from experience, if there's no enforcement behind the laws, it's just papers. It's just words on the paper. And like Christ Black man said earlier, nobody's gonna enforce it because they don't enforce nothing for us. Like, look at affirmative action. That it's nothing now. We don't even have that now. And that was supposed to be for us. But they went and took whatever label the United States government gave us, minorities back then, and they ran with it as though they could. It's just a game they're gonna keep playing. We have to separate. We have to show a distinction between us and every other non-white that they push in front of us. And this is why we had to shoot down Kamala Harris, along with her career as a top cop enforcer and attorney general. I'm gonna let somebody else talk now.
You actually made a really good point that I'd like to get into, but first, does anyone else have anything that they wanted to add to the conversation about grifters or solutions for ADOS being able to, I guess, officially have our lineage identity be official? Any ideas or solutions on that end, or if not, then I'll kind of move on.
But yeah, I had something to say about it. I feel like so actually one thing we kind of addressed this last night on the podcast, in that we were just saying that we need to have a code, like of some sort. We need to have some sort of code that will that we all abide by, that is ours. And that's the thing. I mean, I remember my father back in the day talking about how people weren't on code. Like, these people ain't on code. They're not, like, they might be black, but they're not on code. They're not with us. They're not moving in the same mental space I'm in. They're not on the same wavelength that I'm vibrating on. So I feel like that's still where we need to be. That's what we need to figure out, amongst ourselves, not as something that we need to use for, to broadcast. And it's weird that it's like that's what everybody's doing nowadays. Everyone is like broadcasting and has to put everything out there and tell everybody, this is what I'm on, this is what I'm doing. Look at me, give me some attention, before anything is even popping. And to me, that's the strange thing that seems to happen more so than not when it comes to any sort of movement. It's like we get into these spaces where we'll say, okay, I have a goal. This is the goal that I'm angling for. But in my pursuit of that goal, I also want to get some attention. I also want to get some money. I also want to get some notoriety. So, and then suddenly that becomes the real goal versus the thing that you said that you were actually aiming for. So I just feel like if we all had a code of some sort that we all could abide by, that would help us, with amongst ourselves, to figure out, to maintain our own oneness and uniqueness. And I like what James was saying as far as like this blending pot or melting pot that they say that America is. And it's odd that they do that. They only do that in terms of, I won't say they only do that, but they realized early on that their numbers were dwindling. So that's why Italians became white. That's why Irish became white. That's why Polish people became white. When back in the 30s and prior to that, they weren't considered white. They weren't considered white like they are now. And it's just very interesting that the United States knows. I'll put it like this: they know the game that they're playing. As a government, as a whole, they know the game that they're playing. They know that if we were to just put everyone into their own boxes in their own spaces, that we would see what the numbers actually are for every ethnicity, and we'd be able to tell, oh wow, you know, we aren't the minority that we thought we were, and they aren't the majority that they think they are. You know, but because we, you know, play by the rules that they've provided for us, we have to play their game, and that's how we ended up falling prey to things like people saying and claiming that they're Black, or claiming that they're Native American, or claiming that they're whatever, just so they can grab some sort of, or grift some sort of benefit for themselves, for their own personal, you know, uprising. When we're still left saying, wait, what do you mean? Hold on, what about us? That's our thing. That's for us. That thing that you just took, that was for us, and you get the benefit of being able to take it off whenever you decide, so you can now, you know, and then tell the story, because Hollywood and America loves a good story. Like that's kind of the thing that I see more so than anything else, that, you know, that kind of takes us and drifts us away from where we really need to be. So all that to say, I feel like, you know, if we had our own code, if we had our own space, or if we, I wouldn't even say our own space, but we had our own space, like not like an actual space, but like a mental space that we all moved in, I think that would be a better place for us to be able to move and hold political parties and political leaders accountable, as well as to hold our own people accountable for what we say and what we do amongst the community. That's about all I got. And by the way, my name is Chris, like Christ. I only had, you know, like it's spelled like Christ, but it's Chris with a T on it. That's it. That's it.
Question for everybody. You know, along what Chris was saying, I feel like when we talk about that code, right? When we talk about the code that you know, I refer to the G code. Like that's a big thing where I'm from. Like it's certain rules to this code. But basically we all coalesce that we're from similar backgrounds. We have similar upbringings, and because of that, this is how we operate. This is what we do. This is what we don't do. This is why we do it. This is why we don't do it. And when it comes to creating that space for our community, like and this is a question I want to ask to the group, is there anything more important than centering that group of people or centering that code on lineage? Because I think that's the one thing we all share, because we all come from different places. Like some of us grew up poor, some of us grew up not so poor, but most of us grew up basically in that same basic income level. And so what I think about is, when you grow up like that, it's some things, like I'm from Louisiana. So I know there's some things I've experienced that you guys haven't, because of how Louisiana is. But when I come to Kansas City, like one thing I noticed, there was a difference. Like when we talk about Black people here, it's and like I say, I'm not connected to many people in Kansas City. Like I know people that I see in the streets, you know, former girls I've dated or people that I saw at bars. Like I'm not connected in the streets like that, and I want to be. But I'm, you know, I've been having a hard time trying to find my way, because most of the people that I run into, they're, you know, intellectually minded, you know, they have degrees and all of that. It's all that shit. And it's like, that's cool, but the thought process that they have, I don't agree with. And that's why I like going to the hood. That's why I like going to Paseo. I like going to Truce. I like going to Prospect. Because I relate to them niggas. Like, they understand. And it's like, if we could coalesce around our lineage and where we come from, I think then that'll be the easiest way to set the rules of the code. Like, okay, we don't do this, we don't do that. Like, for instance, to give an example, like with Angela Wright. You know, Angela Wright had an interview, I think it's been a year or two back, where she was like, you know, me and all my friends is good. Well, Black Americans sitting like, shut the fuck up, because most of us aren't good. Like, you can't say that on national television, and now when we asking for things, people are going to refer back to Angela Wright and say, no, Angela Wright and her friends are good. But what we know, that Angela Wright doesn't know, you know, to be in the top 10% of all, top 5% of all African American homes, all you need to be worth is $350,000. That's not a lot of money. Ain't all. Half of middle America is worth 1.1 million. We break it down in families. So if we coalesce and now we understand, okay, majority of us, because we always talk about Black people not being monolithic. And I don't think we're monolithic, but we are financially. Financially, the majority of us are in the same boat. And so if we can coalesce around their lineage, I mean, I would think that's the biggest thing we have in common. Like, what y'all think about that?
Hi, John. Well, since nobody else I'll jump in and Ken will answer that, and then maybe move on to the next topic. I will say first that we are at the hour mark, so if you have to go, that's perfectly understandable. If not, let's continue. To
Right,
answer,
I do have to go, everybody. Thank you, Kara, very much. I'll see you all next week.
and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Yeah, definitely. Bye. All.
All right, so I think that the code, like staying on code, or the code we have now, it's not official. So we can say all day long, who you, but when it comes to what they put on those applications and those, government grant requests, it doesn't quite matter. So I think that when it comes to identity in that way, there definitely needs to be some type of law that says, you have to specify what your racial identity is in such a way that you can't drift onto anybody else's. You can't say, oh, I grew up in Latin America, but in America I get to be white. No, you have to be Latino. You can't come here from India and put white on your application. No, you're Indian. Just in something along those lines, to where you can't just say, oh well, I'm this. I grew up with this racial identity. I grew up in this country, but in America I get to be this. Like, no, that can't be. But I did want to move on. Speaking of race and racism, did anyone read about the article where it says Donald Trump, he canceled, or he put a stop to federal trainings about white privilege and racism? So I did want to focus on that, and then also go back to the post that Leighton was talking about earlier, and saying that, and I shared it on ADOS Kansas City, where I said it was basically a post about a bunch of like black conservatives were praising Donald Trump for saying that, they don't feel like they're oppressed, and they feel like he's not racist, and there's nothing that he's done that has been racist. And then I just pointed out, in and of itself, him saying that black people don't have anything to lose voting for him is racism, because in that he's pretty much doing the same thing that the Democrats are doing, in not having to create a black agenda, not having to address racism in this country, because he just gets to say, oh well, it doesn't matter who you vote for, you're still gonna have it's still gonna be just as bad. But with not having to address racism at the federal level by blocking, I guess they would call them diversity trainings or racial inequity trainings. I'm not sure what they're called officially, but in blocking those, it's kind of also blocking the opportunity to address racism, because I'm kind of wondering if somebody in a government job, in a federal government job, is experiencing racism in a workplace that is no longer addressing racism, what is their recourse? So let's talk about that. Is Donald Trump trying to make it seem like or is Donald Trump ignoring racism now with that? Kind of, what are your thoughts on all of that?
I don't want to hog it. I feel like I'm talking. I'll go. Don't nobody else go. I don't know that he's ignoring it. Listen, so this is my thing, and maybe y'all can help me with this. I think he just do what the fuck he want to do. He doesn't care about them. I don't think he's that smart. I think we give him way too much credit. Like just like in the Slack forum, I don't spend a lot of time talking about his ideals because I don't think he has any. Now, if we're gonna talk about like budget cuts or like in this situation, he's diminishing African Americans. Like, duh, nigga, like we know that. Like, I don't understand why anybody be surprised by the ignorant stuff that he does. Like, that's what. Yes, I do think he's racist. Yes, I do think he's pushing the country backwards. No, I don't think he gives a fuck about our community. That's understood, and I don't understand how we don't understand it at this point. Like yeah, that's what he's about. And the only thing that's gonna change that is us. Because I believe if we're looking at Democrats or Republicans, if we're looking at the left wing or the right wing, it's a part of the same damn bird. Like ain't none of that set up for us. Ain't none of that set up for us to thrive and for us to get what we need. Period. I don't have any faith in the Democratic Party. I don't have any faith in the Republican Party. I just know my biggest weight comes in the Democratic Party because we vote 90%. So I think when we see stuff like that, to me, him removing that anti-American training and what that article was speaking about, to me, that's no different than Democrats saying this is what we're doing for minorities. Because that shit ain't gonna help us. It's no different to me. Because he doesn't have anything to help us over there, and Biden and Harris don't have anything policy-wise that's going to get to our communities. I don't see it any different. Like as far as I'm concerned, ADOS is the party. We push the agenda, we get reparations. That solves all of our problems for the foreseeable future. As long as we admit that, or as long as we push that it's a 400-year policy, it's a multi-generational policy, and this needs to happen over the next 400 years at least. Because what's happened to us has happened over the past 400 years. But I don't put no weight on that shit. Like, he gonna keep going there. Who gonna check him? Who gonna check him if we don't check him? That's how I feel.
James, did you want to add something?
Yeah. So I just want to say two things. The first thing is I want to reiterate on what Leighton was saying and Chris was saying about code, about having everybody on the same mental frequency so that we all on the same page in the same time. And the problem with that is that we are over 30 million strong in this country. You understand what I'm saying? Spread out, still pocket sized into little communities, but we are still spread out among about 50 states. You know what I'm saying? So with that understood, how do you get all these different people on code who have been trained not to be on any code? Every code we develop, it gets broken. Whether it's a code that is uplifting or a code just for survival, every code we produce, they break it. You understand? At this point, it's more than just a code that's necessary. It's something like ADOS, exactly like this. We need to push a movement like this that forces conversation. If everybody don't want to get on code, we are on code so much, so often, non-flinching, non-folding, that is forced to pass through because this code right here is solid and its goals is solid, and Black people could recognize that. You get all these grifters that get in the way, but I don't really hear regular Black folk talking down on anything ADOS pushes. You know what I'm saying? This is a solid thing, and people will realize it once they hear it, once they see it, once they are known about it, once it's ingrained in their systems. And that's what our duties are right now, is pushing that and pushing that hard, and us staying on that code. That is how we push code, by living code. You understand? By always screaming code. When before and after things happen, we are on code. You understand what I'm saying? And that's just how I feel we can push that to the rest of the millions of Black folk out there who probably don't have enough access to this information like we are getting, like we are pushing for. You understand? I didn't even hear about ADOS until a year and a half ago. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't really understand it until I pushed myself into it. And now that I pushed myself into ADOS, I feel like ADOS is giving me something back. It's giving me data, it's giving me information, it's giving me footholds to push on. You understand? And we got to be that for the next people that's coming through and seeing it. You understand what I'm saying? And that's just for that. the other part I want to get back is to the article you mentioned. So I actually pulled up an article a couple days ago that pretty much was, it to me was like a precursor for what Donald Trump just did. They said that after slavery ended, what they did was the white Northerners did not want to participate or to benefit or send benefit down to any of the Black voters in the South. Once slavery was dismantled, the Northerners gave up on Blacks. You understand? And they no longer cared. They actually had a discrepancy with us, but that they rather not have to discuss, because this is what they did. What they did was they pushed legislation to change the curriculum and the talking points around the image of America, so that America will always seem like it was a united front, so that they would stop clowning the Southerners who lost the war, and so that the Northerners can stop downplaying the Southerners. So they created this kind of image reconstruction for white people, so that white people can all seem like they're on the same page and that nobody was evil, that having slavery wasn't like it really was. It was a whitewash. It was another whitewash, and they whitewashed all of the data, all of the information, to the point where now we have to literally pick it up in pieces in separate places. You understand? And that's what Donald Trump just pushed right there. He just pushed another whitewash, because by him doing that and taking out all of those training mechanisms that are in place to make awareness to the systematic racism that's in the system those programs are in, when you take those out, it's like everything is good. Everything is okay. There's no problems here. And there is problems here. And that's what whitewashing does. It says everything is blanketed with this innocence and everything is good. And it's not. Y'all are savages, and y'all continue to do savagery on a daily basis. And this is just another way of making it okay so he can get them votes. So white people can feel like, oh, Donald Trump is right. There's no racism. They're bugging. Once we stop the police from bugging, then everything is fine. And it's not. That's a falsehood. There's problems in every other sector of society when it comes to us. So that's why I have a problem with POC, and I have a problem with all of this blanket. No, this is our struggle because of the way we are discriminated against in all these facets of life. Look at a Black felon when he comes out of jail, or she comes out of jail. Their life is done. You go to jail, you have felonies, you come home, you can't get a job. You can't get housing. If you don't have no support base, where are you going? You understand? And then you get these people to come in and pretend to be us and steal the funding that we should be receiving when they already slashed everything for us. Come on, this is all one conglomerate effort to dismantle us some more. And Trump does something like this to make it okay, to make it seem like, hey, vote for me because I'm making things all right. I don't know what's going on, but he says all the protests are local problems. Do you understand what that man is doing? He's saying it's local problems. That's not a federal issue. So he don't have to face the burden of that. And then he does this move right here to make it seem like everything's okay. Once the locals deal with it, everything's gonna be good. Like, this is ridiculous, man. Yes.
I just want to add in real quick. Donald Trump didn't seem to think it was a local issue when he enabled federal troops or marshals to come into Kansas City in the name of Operation Legend, in other cities as well. So I just want to say, he's awfully selective of when he decides he's gonna give input or when he's not. If Christy, if you want to add something to it, my main concern is like, if these oh, can you hear me? Okay, sorry, man. Hold on. Can you hear me now? Great. Okay. I'll try to talk slow, maybe. And let me know if you can't hear me. Okay, great. So diversity trainings don't work, but they are there to serve a purpose. If because we've seen in the news where like issues with Starbucks where a black man sitting in the cafe gets arrested and then they have a diversity training. Now at the federal level, what happens to the black employees or any other minority employees? I hate to even say that, but you know what I mean. So what happens when those employees are experiencing discrimination in the workplace and there's no type of training there? Like what do they do? Are their concerns even validated, or it's just like we don't, racism isn't an issue, we have no way of dealing with that, so you just on your own do the best you can or quit, or whatever else. Like what would happen in America if we flat out stop dealing with racism? At least in with and a federal level. And I keep saying federal because that's, it's our government protection. Like it's the government's job to protect its citizens from racism. It's doing a piss poor job of that, but it's still its job. So if Donald Trump is able to say that we don't acknowledge racism anymore, we're canceling these trainings, what's going to happen when people actually do experience the racism in the workplace? So it's just something to think about. We have I'm going to give about 10 minutes left. Chris, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, matter of fact. I mean, so I'll say, while I don't give Trump a lot of credit for, being smart and playing, this 3D chess that a lot of his supporters say he's playing, I will say when it comes to race, he knows exactly what the hell he's doing. I mean, this is a person who historically has had, when in his own private business, he's been called out for, discriminating against black people by putting C's on his applications, to say that these people are colored. So we're gonna throw those applications out. I mean, they did that back in the 70s and 80s. And so if we, fast forward to now, I mean, he's basically just playing to his base. And what he's basically communicating to them is there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. You're fine. They're the problem. You guys are fine. Vote for me. And that's basically all it seems to be coming down to. More than trying to vilify any certain people or anything like that. His thing is, first of all, above anything else, to win. And so to win, he has to tell his people that there's nothing wrong with you. You don't need diversity training. You don't need any sort of issue. But just like you were saying, Kiara, it's like when you have, so if there's nothing wrong, there's no issue, what do you do when there is an issue? And no one's had any training on it. What are you supposed to do? To me, it always seems unfortunate because I've worked in corporate. I work in corporate now. When you're in a lot of those spaces and they have like those corporate trainings, we're going to do diversity training and all that. A lot of times it's like a white person is teaching mostly other white people, and I will be the first one to tell you they don't take that shit seriously. They don't take it seriously at damn all. And you're sitting around like y'all sitting here laughing and making jokes about shit that really happens to me. Like, what the fuck? How can y'all sit here and have these sort of just kind of breeze over this? I mean, like, and it gets even wilder. And I put it like this: that's what they do when I'm there. That's what they do when I'm there. Imagine what it looks like when it's just a white person teaching other white people about how to deal with, you know, diverse people and people of diverse backgrounds. They don't take that shit seriously, and that's how we end up with a full police force of white people policing a whole black community, and folks wondering, well, and you know, with a history of brutality, abuse, and neglect, and then people looking at the police like, hey, I thought y'all had diversity training. What's going on? You know, so I mean, to me, it's just it's hilarious. So so I think with what Druff is doing, he's just, you know, again, he's just communicating to his people and trying to say, there's nothing wrong with you guys. You guys are fine. Everything is wonderful, and and you know what I'm saying, and there's no issue. And while at the same time defunding and pulling money, federal funds back from a lot of those communities that need it. And just like you were saying also, Kiara, like, yeah, he does pick and choose when it is a federal issue or not. Like, you know, Operation Legend, when you look at the people in Portland, that when he sent his secret police into Portland, he kept talking about sending federal agents into Chicago, where I'm from, you know what I'm saying, sending folks back to the crib. And I'm like, what is, like, okay, so you do pick and choose when you decide to get involved, but only when it comes to his own benefit. See, that's what it all comes down to. He's the most self-serving president we've had in our lives. I don't know historically how everybody is, but I'll say in our lives, he is the most, you know, self-serving president that I've ever experienced. I know that. And it's just, and it's blatant. It's blatant as hell when it comes to voting, when it comes to economics, when it comes to anything this dude does. If it's not serving him, you don't give two shits about it until it starts affecting him.
All right, so it is almost 10:30, so we're going to close out. I'll just leave off by saying that I really appreciate you all for joining in today. We will be back here again next Saturday morning at 9 a.m. If you are in the Kansas City area and would like to join in, please email ADOSKansasCity@gmail.com for an RSVP. And also, in the meantime, each one teach one. Like I said, we basically need more. There needs to be more people in Kansas City who are behind the ADOS movement, who identify with the ADOS lineage and are pushing that reparations agenda. So if you are here, please reach out to your friends and family. Let them know that this group is formed and we are gathered. We're, you know, going back and forth, sharing ideas. Let them know that this exists. We're on YouTube and Twitter. We're on Facebook, but not so much, but we're there. All of them are ADOS Kansas City. I know some of us are in the chat. Layton, he's at the Wire KC and Politics as usual on Slack. I just recently joined that group as well. But there's lots of ways that you can spread the word. You know, don't just let this conversation end here. Like, take it back to your friends, family, and that's all I'll say to that. Again, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for watching. And I hope you all have a great weekend. Actually, Labor Day weekend, so I hope you all have a great long weekend. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Appreciate y'all.
Bye. Have a good day.
Thanks. Peace.